60 AR mags. And I sold them at normal pricing. I didn't raise my prices like everybody else did in our area. They were getting $60 for a magazine we sold for $19.95. But we completely sold out. And we sold every AR we had in the building by lunchtime. So those kinds of buying frenzies, you cannot allow that to figure in and think you're going to do those kinds of volumes this year. It's not going to happen. So here's a 6-range inventory of sales, and then the next one is inventory on handguns. So the average inventory or sales in handguns is about $61,400 a month. That's a real number. I took all the totals of the 6 ranges that I analyzed for this slide and divided it by 6, and it came out to $61,000 a month in handguns. And I'm not going to read every category for you, you can see it. What might be of some help to you, though, is here. Average 3,200 square feet. Average number of lanes was 18. I can tell you most of them were 15, but we had a couple of them that had higher, 24 lanes. And then the average number of students taught per month, 325. So when we look at retail square feet, as I talk with clients who are thinking about building a range, they oftentimes do not have enough square footage dedicated to retail. For instance, I met with my client in Cincinnati here yesterday, looked at their floor plan, and they had a massive lounge area, VIP lounge area. To me, that's wasted space. I get the need for the lounge, okay, but nowhere near the size they had dedicated. And Doug, who's going to follow me, is one of the most knowledgeable guys on retail and establishing the retail layout and how effective it can be to your sales. Told me when we were having this discussion about the lounge area, he said, Ed, in the last 3 years, I've been in 140 shooting ranges around the country. 140. Most of my meetings with the owners are held in the members' lounge because it's not being used. So I advise my client, and it's their decision, I think you should make that VIP area a little smaller and put more in the retail area. It's going to be unique to your vision. I do not want to give you the impression for one instant that anything I say here should deter you from your vision. Your vision is unique. It's what's got you in this room right now. But I'm here to tell you, when I came to the NRA Range Conference almost 12 years ago, and people that I respected told me, you'll never do that dollar amount in training in your year one, I said, you don't know my training. You're wrong. Folks, they were more than right. They were more than right. So, not meeting my training numbers, my revenue numbers in training, almost destroyed everything I'd worked for my whole life. So, 18 lanes, the average, I can tell you by far, most of those 6 ranges had 15. We just had a couple of 24s in there. Here's inventory amounts, just to kind of give you an idea, because I know right now, some of you are thinking, well, how much money am I going to put into shotguns, and how much money am I going to put into handguns, and what's my ammo budget going to be? These are real numbers of those 6 very successful operational ranges. Shotguns are averaging an inventory of about 13,000, and I will tell you I don't have one skeet or trap type range in there, because if I did, that number would be blown out. You'd add some zeros to it. You start talking about high-end Beretta, sporting clays guns, and skeet guns, and trap guns, and Benellis, and Krieghoffs, that number goes crazy. So this is more of your indoor, personal defense, personal safety range. Rifles, handguns, and it just kind of gives you an idea. Now if you look at what I said earlier about optics being almost 2-year inventory on hand, that's $13,000 in optic inventory that they're not going to probably turn for 2 years. I don't know how many of us can afford to have $20,000 sitting out there with no return on it for 2 years. And that's the way you got to start looking at your inventory. So someone asked about margins. The red is my margins. These are my numbers here. And then the other numbers are the averages of the ranges that we analyze. I will tell you that on your typical consumer guns, 15% is pretty much the average on new consumer guns. However, on Kimbers or SIGs or some of your Wilson Combats and your higher level guns, 25% is doable. We average as a store between the high-end guns and the consumer guns an overall new gun average of 21%. 21%. I feel very comfortable about these numbers. And there are two groups, we call them Pro 20 groups, that are going around right now in the country. They're basically 12 to 15 ranges in each group. I'm the chairman of the second group, and we have the first group that was formed. And if you've ever been in the auto industry or in the truck accessory industry, you are probably familiar with the performance group concept. And what that is we are non-compete demographic businesses. So there's no one in my group that competes with me. But twice a year we get together and we compare every single number. Every dime you spent, every dime you earned. And we analyze it by category. And I am by far not the biggest in my group. But when it comes to percentages and margins, we are number one in our group. But there are guys making 5 times what I'm making. We have a 20-something million dollar business in our group. But margins and percentages, we're real good at. So I would say if you strive for these numbers, you're going to be very well off margin versus investment. So used firearms, 46% is where we're at. Used firearms is one of the most difficult areas to negotiate your way through on the retail floor. You want the customer to feel like you're giving them a fair deal, but you also have to recognize that you're probably giving them more than any pawn shop is going to give them. And it is a fine line and an area that you'll have to give some consideration to. What our approach has been is we will offer them whatever we feel is fair for the gun, but we will then follow that up with, you can consign the gun and we will take 15% of the consignment if you don't want to sell it outright, so that they understand that we need to make a profit on it if we buy it, if we take the gun in. We're to the point now, finally, we're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary December 4th. Will be our 10th anniversary. We're finally at the point now where we are very selective on the used guns we buy. Initially, we would pretty much buy anything, and we've gone away from that. And some of the services we offer, I think, will make sense to you when we talk about that. Consignment, we charge 15%. We strive for 55% overall margin on our retail sales. We have never made it. We probably never will, but I'm constantly pushing my manager to get us to 55. But I'm very happy with 52. I'm very happy with 52. And the only way we come close to 52 is because of our training number. Because we have such high margins in training, we generate an awful lot of retail higher margin sales because of the training experience, and we'll discuss that as we go further. Now, transfer fee. People always say, why do you only charge $25? Yes?
What is your feelings of smaller shops that charge full MSRP on everything across the board?
If your marketplace will allow it, then I don't know why you would want to do that. But the problem is most markets won't allow that. In fact, I live in North Idaho. We have a lot of vacationers who come from California and a lot of dealers in our industry who know me and want to come and see our place. And they'll come up and they laugh at me because I'm selling a Glock 19 for $529. And they're getting $649 for it. But if I put 649 on it, you might as well bronze it and put a plaque that says, here lies the longest gun that ever be moved. If it's not going to sell. You know, so if you can get an SRP, God bless you. And I know ranges that do. We cannot in our industry, in our demographic. Yeah, good question. So people come at me all the time and say, why do you only charge $25 for a transfer? Do you have any idea what it costs you to transfer a gun? Well, I do. It's a strategic move in my part. There are two strategic things in my business that my accountant is always getting after me. I have a large selection of holsters. I have more holsters by far than Cabela's has across the road from me. But people in my community know if they want a concealed carry holster, there's no place to go but Center Target. I have clerks at Cabela's when people say, I need a concealed carry holster for my SIG P238. Instead of saying it's on the shelf right over there, they say go to Center Target. So that and then this margin here. And here's something we've done, and I'll give you a couple of these little nuggets that some may make sense to you, some will not. We started this year a new policy. If you transfer a gun into us, it's $25. However, if you buy $50 worth of product, the transfer is free. 96% of the people who transfer guns in never pay us a $25 fee anymore. Our accessory sales are going through the roof. Yes?
Do they pay more than $50?
Thank you very much. You get the next book because you get it. Average ticket sale on that $50 minimum is $107. Tell me I'm foolish for charging $25 for a transfer. $107 is the average ticket sale on a transfer of gun now.
That's borderline genius.
I'm sorry?
But that's borderline genius of you.
Nah, that's just, getting lucky. Someone told me a long time ago, when you go to bed at night, take a pad and a pencil and keep it by the nightstand. That's one of my nightstand things. I woke up in the middle of the night and said, what can I do to make them buy more when they're there?
Give them something.
I don't like the word give too much, but yeah. So here's a picture of my store, part of my store anyways. You can see that it is open. There are no posters on the wall with naked women and bandoliers of ammo covering their breasts, which is something we have actually saw. My wife and I, before we built our range, visited 40 ranges across the country. My wife did not feel comfortable in one of them, not one. Not all for the same reasons. Everything from those naked pictures, to the, how you doing, to the bad area of town. I will tell you on that subject right there, I am very aggressive in trying to encourage my clients to build their ranges in the prime real estate, retail real estate you have in your community. If you're going to allow the city, and I have testified this year alone in 5 city council or planning zoning meetings, and we've won every one. If you're going to allow the city or a planning and zoning board to push you into a commercial, industrial area, it's the worst mistake you can make. I tell all of my clients, you must chum where the fish are. So if I had my goal, I would put the range between Victoria's Secret and Macy's. Right in the middle. The best retail space you can find. But that's got to be tempered with reality. I looked at a site yesterday right here in Cincinnati that was a proposed site for our client. $1 million for the land with no building on it. No way. He needs to walk away from that. He needs to walk away from that. Because that totally tilts the scale. That nut will be so big at the end of, remember the $170 to $190 range? That's going to put him in the $215 range. Not going to work. So we have to recognize the reality. So the inside needs to be open